Hello, and welcome back to Automate Office Work, the show that helps you on your journey to automate your office work. I'm your host, Justin. Today's episode is the anniversary episode of this podcast. It's 1 year of podcasting. Today is the 7th of November, and I started this podcast on the 1st of November last year, 2024. So today I want to take a look back on the previous episodes and just reflect on what it's been like for me to be making a podcast. It might be interesting for those of you who've been with me all along on this journey. I want to start with the reason why I created this podcast. So I was just like you. Several years ago, I was a beginner in my journey of automating. And I looked around for YouTube channels. I looked around for podcasts, for automating office work in this space, and I could not find anything. I had to teach myself every single step of anything. I had to teach myself even just the principles of how do you find things to automate and what is the process, and then how to use tools. I had to actually teach myself. Often there would be like 6, 7, or 8 steps that I had to figure out before I could even actually start using tools. So it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of discovery and exploration, and I wanted to share this because I couldn't find anywhere else that was teaching these kinds of things. Then also around the time of the COVID-19 pandemic, I really wanted to start creating my own content. So I created a website, automateofficework.com, which started out as a place to teach people how to do these kinds of things. It was not quite yet a podcast, but it was a place with articles and some limited videos. I still wanted to create a podcast because I would often speak with people, and they would ask me like, "How do you get started in this?" And I told them how I got started in it. And then they would ask me, "Can you teach me how to code?" And I'd say, "No, I don't have the time to teach you how to code. Go learn to code yourself," and this kind of stuff. And then they would ask me like, "What kind of resources can you recommend to me?" And so I would look around at the existing resources. There were, of course, things like tips and tricks in Outlook and Excel, which might be kind of beneficial to some people, but most people need a lot more than just tips and tricks. On the other end of the spectrum, I found that there were resources like, here's a course in Python that will take you 12 hours, and then you'll be able to automate everything on your computer. So I found that there was really nothing in between still. And so that's the space that I wanted to create a podcast. I decided I wanted to create the podcast that I wished had existed. And so that's how it started. It started, yeah, November of 2024, a year ago. And of course, I had my own kind of confidence issues. I was thinking, well, I don't know how to make a podcast. I don't know how to make a nice video. I don't have the equipment, the scripts. How do I do this? And then I tried making my own. And of course, learning the video editing and, of course, seeing yourself and hearing your own voice recorded, you don't like what the first thing that you make. And it was difficult to be able to make that choice that I need to just let this out and I need to start. So I had my initial my 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 beginnings of this. I really just had to push myself and put it out there and then commit to doing it weekly. I found that broadcasting live on LinkedIn was a really nice way to commit and then to push myself to actually put out content. I found that I didn't really have a lack of content for the podcast, just because I've been doing work in this space for so many years and I have so many examples that I can demonstrate that those were the first, I'd say 20 or so episodes were just demonstrating things that I had done. Let's see. I'm going to make myself come down so I can be smaller. And so now I'm showing my website. For those of you who are listening to audio only, I'll try to speak about anything that's on the screen so you can listen to this as well. That's another thing that I always tried to do, was make it so that this content can be enjoyed either watching or just by listening to audio only. I have I have been putting this podcast out, like I said, live on LinkedIn, as well as on YouTube and Apple Podcast. I think about halfway through the year, I decided to put the content on Spotify as well. I found that Spotify is not just audio only. You can also do video on Spotify. So everything is on Spotify as well. If you come to my website, automateofficework.com, you scroll down and there's a podcast section, and you can see all the different episodes that are coming up. I have up to episode 62 in the plannings here, and that is going to be put out, I believe, in January. So yeah, I've got a lot of stuff planned out, even like 2 months ahead now. Yeah, this has been one of my concerns. It's the question: can I put out content every single Friday? Will I run out of something to show or something to talk about? So far, there has been no end to content. I have found that there are different categories of content that I can put out. One of the categories, like I said, is demonstrating things that I've built and show people how to build. So I think that this is a great way to give content, is to actually empower you guys, teach you how to guys how to do this. I did put a poll on LinkedIn asking for people's favorite category of episodes, and this was the number one. Number one is showing solutions and how to make solutions. The second category that I have found of podcast episodes is having guests come on. And then I act as the interviewer, and I get to explore and find out how they went on their journey of automating. Guests have been a really good way. A third category that I've been getting into lately, it's more philosophical. It's more like things like problem solving, how to define a problem. You see here, like episode 62, it's titled "The Problem with Problems." So in that, I go through, it's only 17 minutes long, but we go through 17 minutes just talking about the importance of problems, identifying problems, defining problems. You don't want to go straight to the solution. You need to slow down and just pause on the problem section first. So yeah, that's so more philosophical things where I just get to like talk about my musings of the philosophy of things. So okay, so let's scroll down. Uh, let's do a review of how it started. Okay, so my very first episode was getting started automating in the Microsoft environment. This has actually been one of the most popular episodes. I think it's because it's as getting started in the title, and people would do like Google searches, like how to get started automating, and they came to my content here. This was only 30 minutes. But yeah, getting started automating in the Microsoft environment. If you don't know the tools that are available, you need to watch this. That we have all the tools that we need often among the tools that you already have. If you're in one of like the 90% of corporations that has Microsoft Office, you already have amazing tools. So yeah, I just went over how to open those tools, the tools that exist, and how to get started with automating. The next one, automation starts with intake. Intake is huge. Intake is like the beginning of every request you ever get. So if you can get intake down instead of getting random emails from people, this is a great place to start. And I've got 28 minutes of how to make intake forms. Now, once you have the intake forms, What happens when people submit those intake forms? Oftentimes, people want to just go and use Microsoft Forms because it's an intake system. And I'll tell you, Microsoft Forms, the next step, it just makes an Excel spreadsheet. It just adds a line in a spreadsheet. From there, how do you track like different comments and different versions, and maybe there are different tasks that need to be done and you need to track those? Because you're in a spreadsheet with Microsoft Forms, you have like a one-to-one relationship with everything that's on a line. You can't then have like a one request to multiple tasks. You can't have a one-to-many relationship in spreadsheets. So what you have to do is you have to look at your data in a different way than a spreadsheet. And that's what I did in episode 3, turning intake forms into a request platform. So the next steps, how do you then manage the request and the life cycle of the request, the different comments, the different versions, file histories, and maybe you change the status. But in my platform, you have a history of all of this. It's not just make a change in an Excel spreadsheet, like changing the status in the Excel spreadsheet. In an Excel spreadsheet, you then lose the history of that. Like, when did it change? Who changed it? What was the status before? What's the history of the different statuses before? You lose all of that. So by turning it into a request platform, it's much more robust. Okay. The next 3 episodes, 4, 5, and 6, I went over templates really, really deep. So what is this? 30, 30, and like 23. It's something like an hour, maybe almost an hour and a half, just talking about templates. If you can make your work repeatable, and especially if you're working with documents, you need to be working with templates because templates are repeatable. And in that first episode of those trios, it was templates, how to structure them for automation. So you have work that you can do even before coming to technology. You don't just go straight to automating a document. First, you have to structure your document. You have to simplify it, align your documents so you have less of them. You want as few templates as possible. And then what are the tools inside of Microsoft Word that you can use? You can turn your template into like a form on the first page. And then each of the fields, you can have like drop-down menus, checkboxes, radio buttons. As much as possible, you want to structure your document in an organized data kind of a way, and make it so that your business can work with that really well. Along with that episode, it was also episode 4. It also showed how a .docx file works. This is huge. I was just showing this to a client today, how docx documents actually work. Maybe I'll share this on my screen. So yeah, I have a file here, empowering the front lines, Justin's journey to smarter, simpler automation. You notice it is .zip. If I was to change this to docx, it asks me, are you sure you really want to change the file name? Yes, I am. And presto, did it move to a different screen? Yeah, it did. Okay, bring it back. Here you go. Okay, so this is a docx. I can open this in Word. This is, yeah, when I first sat down with Justin, our conversation quickly veered into a familiar territory. This is an article that was published on LinkedIn about a meeting with me that I had with a new friend that I made. Okay, so I'm going to change this back from docx to .zip. And the thing that you notice is that now it is a zip folder, and I can open it as a zip folder, and there's a tree of folders. I can go into the Word folder, and there is a document called document.xml. If I open this, this is the actual content of the Word document. When I first sat down with Justin, our conversation quickly veered into familiar territory, the hype cycle around AI. Okay, so now if you actually want to manipulate the contents of a Word document, you notice you can't go straight into the data. First, you have to unzip the data. You have to go into the correct folder. You have to find the right file. And now this file is what we manipulate. You could do as like a simple search and replace, and it will actually change your document. And you zip it back up, you change the file back to .docx, and you are ready to go. I think I might actually show this in. Okay, I've got a file or a web page at automateofficework.com/docx, where we go over everything about docx and how to work with it. And I've got an example at the bottom. I do have a docx file. It says, "Hi, my name is," and in brackets, it says name goes here. And then the next line, it says, "I really like," and then in brackets, it says food goes here. And under that, it says fill in your name and favorite food and submit to get your new docx file. So I can put in my name. My name is, what is it? Inigo Montoyes. You killed my father, prepare to die. I think that's how you spell it. Inigo Montoyes from The Princess Bride. My favorite food is, let's see, it's November, so I'm going to say pumpkin pie. And when I submit, it downloads a file to my desktop. It's called newfile.docx. And it opened in Word, and it says, "Hi, my name is Inigo Montoyes. I really like pumpkin pie." Okay? So if you are working with docx files, you should know how the .docx files actually work. And that just shows you a little bit. So this is really helpful information if you're thinking about automating docx files. Okay, the next episode 5, template libraries. So how do you make a library where you can store all of your different templates? So I showed how I made a library inside of SharePoint, and then I reflected it to Outlook. And let's see if it wants to work today. I was able to use Power Automate. Okay, I'm going to get a button up here at the top. There we go. Okay, now I've got a button called Contract Templates, and I open this, and it's got chasing dots, and there we go. I've got a tree of folders. I can go into divisions. I go into diagnostics folder. I've got a service agreement .docx. And now what this does, it doesn't just open the base template, which is what happens when you put your templates into a tree of folders on like a SharePoint folder or like a network drive. If you do it that way, you're allowing anybody who has access that when they do open the file, they're opening the base file. And then they make changes to that. They put in the different details of a transaction. And then when they save, you just lost your template because it's filled in. It's no longer a template, right? So by doing it this way, when I click on this file, it doesn't just open the file directly. What it does is it downloads a copy to my downloads folder and then opens the copy from my downloads folder. Okay. So now I'm working with my own local version of this file. Okay. So make a template library. I also showed a bunch of other great things like how to reflect that specific folder onto a SharePoint page for your business people. Templates, bringing it all together. I'm trying to remember what this one was about. It was probably about like SharePoint and stuff. Okay, processes, a deep dive. This was such a basic podcast. It was almost 30 minutes and just defining what goes into a process. And I've used this talk several times. I've been lecturing to a law school class and a couple times. And so I've been giving this talk. I just gave this talk as well to a group of general counsels in the UK. If you want to be working with automation, you need to be changing your work into processes, okay? And so this one is really helpful. It gets your mind aware of the different elements of what a process is. You can't just use the word process and have it so. You have to actually build, you have to have a start and an end to your process, the most basic things. And then there's three, possibly four things that go in the middle between the start and end. Okay. Getting to know the host, Justin. This was a fun one because, yeah, I was like 2 months into the podcast without actually introducing myself. So in this one, I was able to take, looks like 32 minutes and just tell you about my journey and who I am and how I got here, how I became an American lawyer living in the Netherlands, who is just focused laser like on automation of processes. Number 9, let's get rid of your spreadsheet chaos. This is such an important episode as well. If you are working with spreadsheets, which a lot of people do, if you're just tracking data with your spreadsheets, there's a much better way. Watch this for 30 minutes and it will give you a completely different perspective. You don't need to be working with a spreadsheet. You need to be working with data at the data level. And then you need to manage who has access and what edits they can make. And when they do make edits, who gets alerted. If you do have like an escalation point that if they make a certain edit, then an approval needs to be triggered to another department. And then when the other department comes on and gives the approval, you need to track and record that data so that we all know that the other department was alerted and they've come on and they've recorded that, yes, they did whatever they needed to do in their processes. So yeah, get rid of the spreadsheet chaos. It's not just about emails, it's about getting to the data. And then you can kill off all those emails and you can kill off the spreadsheets. And so, yeah, number 10. Number 10 was repository. And repository is how do you store your files in a way that everybody else can see the files, and then you track metadata about those files. So I did it inside of Outlook, and I had a button here called contracts, and I can create a new matter, and you see all of this metadata that I can track from the very beginning. I can also search off of it and search for a matter. Let's open one. And so, yeah, when I create one of these matters, it also creates, it does track all the metadata. All the metadata is tracked here, as well as it creates a file space. So I have files that I can open in the cloud immediately. Because we are in Outlook, there is a email that's open here. I can click on plus, I can click on plus file. I can say, let's take a file from the email, and I can upload, if there were any files attached here, it would list them and I could just upload this file to this matter immediately. And I can always upload the entire email itself as a PDF. So we are keeping track of the documents trail. And yeah, you make it so you're independent from email. Don't make it so that your users have to have access to somebody's Outlook email box in order to see something. All right, so that was my repository. Oh, also my repository was in SharePoint, of course, for the business to see metadata. Oh, that was number 11 when I actually showed it in Outlook and SharePoint. But yeah, number 10 just goes over the basics. How does a repository need to work? Like, well, of course, there needs to be files, and then there also needs to be metadata about those files. All right, number 13, I had my first guest, a conversation with Jonathan Williams. He was from the company, a legal tech company. It was called Leia at the time, and it's now called Legora. And I believe this was right before Jonathan started working for that company. So he was, I believe, like an independent consultant or something working in legal operations. So he came on with me and we just talked about the future of legal work and technology. Great conversation with him. Number 14, org charts. So how to automate the creation and maintenance of org charts could be really useful for you guys. Number 15, I went through a very complex automation example called donation requests. If you are doing something that is really, really complex, it should inspire you that you can break it down into its different steps and just automate it. Number 16, biographies. Biographies was kind of fun. It's a way to let people connect and get to know each other. Number 17 was playbooks, how to answer the questions that you get about the different paragraphs in your documents. We create these documents. Let's say you create a contract, and then you expect somebody else to work with that. They always have questions. They want to know, what does this mean? How can I make changes? What are the processes to make those changes? So playbooks was a really important demonstration. Ideas was another demonstration of a platform for gathering ideas. This one is so popular and so fundamental to what a lot of teams are doing. A lot of teams now, they have tools, but they don't have ideas about how to use the tools. So this is very important for a lot of teams. Like when I come in as a consultant and I ask a department, so like, what do we need to improve? What do we need to automate? A lot of times I'm talking with somebody whose role is in operations, or maybe they're in some kind of like innovation manager role, and they don't know. They don't know all the different things that need to be done. They don't know the struggles that everybody in the department has. So what they ask me to do is like, let's do a survey. Well, people don't want to do surveys. Or they ask me to do interviews with different teams. And then the question becomes, how many teams do we interview? How long do we interview each team for? Are there follow-up questions to these interviews? And so what I built finally was just a way to get around all of this. It's a platform inside of SharePoint where anybody can submit an idea, and then everybody can work on the idea at their participation level that they wish. And people can also subscribe to ideas, and so they can be notified when there's an update about an idea. I'm also in talks with another another consultant, that they would like to be able to use this as like an end-to-end system, not just gathering ideas, but then when the idea turns into a project, let's say, they then want to be able to manage the project inside a platform. And then the platform would automatically create a skeleton of like everything that needs to be done. Like there needs to be like issues being tracked. And then at the end, when the solution is created, there needs to be documentation that's created. That documentation should be in this solution. And then there needs to be like a handoff, the way everything is handed off to somebody else to maintain. And then there's a future section for like updates and maintenance. What does the team need to do? What is the plan? That should all be documented. And that can be documented nicely in an ideas platform like this. So yeah. Number 19 was a nice chat with Danny Katz. We talked for, looks like 42 minutes about email. It's killing your productivity, man. A lot of people just want to go straight to email. It's the easy thing to do. You send an email to some other department and you can wipe your hands. You say, my work here is done. When actually, no, it's not, because you emailed the wrong person, or you didn't email them what they need. And now there's just chaos going around the company. Nothing is stored in a permanent place. So your request has not been actually logged in an official way. The work being done, it's not recognized in any official way. And we want to add artificial intelligence to this, to mine the data of chaos, and to somehow give us a nice structured organization of your chaos. So email, it's killing your productivity. We don't need to automate the emails. We need to figure out how to make the emails not exist from the first place. Like 90% of your emails are about some kind of like a project, like a request that you're working on. Requests should be inside of project management systems. And then anything that is being, like any data point that's being added, should not be added by email. It needs to be added directly into the project management system. And then anybody who didn't receive the email which is hopefully everybody, because nobody wants to receive your email anyway, they can always go to the project management system and they can see the history of everything and they can see how the data points relate to each other. We need to get away from email. Email is this sick addiction that we all have because it's so easy, but it just creates so many problems. So yeah, email, it's killing your productivity. Episode 20 was another demonstration of a training platform that I created in SharePoint for not just like official trainings, but like ad hoc trainings. Like you record a conversation with a vendor where they show how to do something. Well, that's a training, and we're often recording these over Teams or somewhere. So there is a recording. You can just stick the recording somewhere and put some metadata so anybody can find it. 21 was another demonstration, an approvals platform that isn't email. This was a fun one because I realized that a lot of approvals are standard, they happen every time at a certain step, but there's also certain approvals that are just ad hoc. Something comes up, we think, oh, we need to get approval from somebody. And often the way we get approval, it's through email. And you email 20 people asking them to approve. Maybe there's some documents that you attach. And then they go through, they reply all like 20 times. So each person can say, I approve. Or in the worst case, maybe there's a file attached, a PDF, and they attach their digital signature to that. A lot of times you have one person who doesn't know how to insert a digital signature. So what they do is they print it to paper, they do like a wet signature on it, and then they scan that paper, and you just lost all the digital signatures of everybody else before that. Also, along the way, you lose the documents that are being reviewed, so they're no longer attached. And then at the very end, if you're lucky, after, 20 emails times 20 people, that's 400 emails. And we complain that we're overwhelmed or flooded with emails. Well, in the end, if you're lucky, you have a single, like a discussion thread of everybody saying, I approve, and maybe a document with some signatures at the end. What do we do with this email trail and this document signatures? We do nothing with it. We just leave it in our inbox. So then, there's no permanent record of this approval chain. And even if like 5 years later, when there's an audit being done, and you might be lucky that one of the people is still in the company, and they can go through their emails and find that email thread and maybe the signed document. But what they don't have is the original documents that were being reviewed. So all you know is something got approved. You don't know what. Don't know what they were reviewing. So yeah, this is a giant mess. And I solved that all in SharePoint. So that could be a good thing for you. Number 22, batch documents. Okay, so this is like when you're sending out 200 of the same document, or maybe they're slightly different. The document says dear and then a person's name and maybe has their address, but those things are different. So what I did was I created it so that you could upload a spreadsheet with all of these like tiny differences, and it would be applied automatically to a template. And then, so all 200 of these were generated, and then you could send them all out through Adobe Sign. And we asked the person receiving, we attached the document for them to sign, but actually we didn't want them to sign that document that we attached. We blacked out the signature block, and we said, if you are ready to sign this, click a link. And that link, it kicked off an automation with Power Automate, where it would update the metadata to say that it was out for signature, and it would then bring them to the URL to sign through Adobe Sign. So we got rid of the actual documents. We automatically got their signature. And then once they fully signed it, we had another automation that was listening, and it would update the metadata. And there was a dashboard of all the metrics showing us where all the 200 documents were at, what percent were at what phase. And we also had some people, like we in the email where we emailed them the document to be signed, we actually said, if you have any questions, reply to this email. And so we kind of left it vague, like what is a question? So we left it so that some people who wanted like extra changes to the document, they could request those changes. And we went into SharePoint, and in SharePoint is where the Word document was. And so we could see it on our screen and we could edit the document. And SharePoint would keep track of the different versions. It would keep track that we had edited it. So we could tell that like 5% of people actually wanted further edits. And we had a history of each one of which edits were made. And then once we made the edits, we clicked on submit again. And then the same email as before was sent out, only with the updated document. So we were back at presenting the document to them for signature. So yeah, you can really do a lot with the batch documents kind of way. Next one, 23, is team responsibilities. This one is so beautiful. This is how to track what it is that everybody on your team does. Because once your team gets big enough and diverse enough, no one person, not even the manager, knows what everybody does. And then often people go on vacation, and then you get a random email from somebody asking if you can help them because somebody's on vacation. And often the answer is no, you have to wait for that person to come back. And so this solution, team responsibility, solves all of that. I'm going to go to maybe show it. Legal/responsibilities/legal ops. And it does take a while to load this. Okay. So yeah, this is a beautiful thing. You've got all these tabs along the top where you can then put like different spreadsheets of information. You can actually combine two spreadsheets on the same screen. And then each spreadsheet, you can have different types of data. Like you can have a person with their initials, which AN, that's Anna Nix. You can have a status with a drop-down menu. The current state, it's just a freely typed box. You could have like a percentage done. If you just put 52, it's then converted into a percentage, a progress bar. You could also have items done. That's a fraction, 15 out of 30. You can have a Boolean, has a file. You could put dates, end date, and start date. And you notice that on this date, there's a filled in black bell. And if I click on the black bell, it does show me a little pop-up box. I can turn on a notification alert that goes out. And you can say how many days before that date you want this to go out. And you can add people who will receive this notification, as well as there's like a number of files, a number of notes. So if I click on this one row, it opens a dedicated screen. And of course, we can make the same edits here on this screen, but vertical. And then below that, there are files, which we can add. We can create a new file, or we can upload a file. You can do things to the file that's uploaded. And then there's a little kind of like a OneNote here. We've got a whole bunch of tabs with different notes that we can put in and manage and edit. Okay, so that is responsibilities. All right, number 24. This was another guest. This was Michael Thompson, legal operations for a large retail company. And the title of it is AI is not the answer to everything. So yeah, he was a big proponent, along with me, that AI is not the answer to everything. Often there's a lot that you can do, and actually a lot that you have to do before turning to AI. So that was a great episode. The next episode, Automating Legal with Sarah Brownhill. I have been recommending this episode to so many lawyers. Because I am a lawyer, a lot of lawyers reach out to me. They work in law firms, and they ask me, what am I supposed to automate in a law firm? Because if I automate my work, if I make it more efficient, that means I lose billable hours. That means I lose money. So they're like, they ask me, how do I do this if I'm not motivated for efficiency? So Sarah was such a great guest. She opened my eyes. It like blew my mind. The kinds of things that law firms should be focused on. So that was such a great one. So if you're in that case, you should listen to that. Okay. Number 26, another demonstration, but this one was really simple. It was vendor maps, like how to take a bunch of data of different vendors and how to plot them on a map, the United States and around the world. So you can click on a state or a country, and then you get a list of these vendors. And you might even put the vendors into different categories. And then you might then give ratings to the vendors and leave comments. So you could have like an evaluation system that your whole team can then leave evaluations and see which vendors are the best. So they use the vendors better. Number 27 was another demonstration called mailing lists. And yeah, this is such a great product. I've often had clients tell me they're shocked that Microsoft hasn't created this yet. So this is a way to categorize everybody on your team, whatever properties you're looking for. Like if you want to send an email to all the full-time employees who are, I don't know, in a certain industry, who are doing different things or speak different languages or have certain skill sets. Every one of those properties, you can do like a check mark in a spreadsheet like interface. And then at the very top, you click on the property that you want. And this tool, it lists every email address that has that property. And then you can also take different properties and you can say, like, I want everybody with this property. And then you might exclude, you might say, I want these people, except if they have this other property. And then you might, there was a union and there was also an intersection. So you might say, I want the people who have this skill, but only if they also have this other skill. So you could make a pretty complex kind of a logic journey. And so if your boss ever says, I want you to send this email to everybody in the department that has this, and this property, except for this, plus this one, we could actually do it. I did it through mailing lists quite simply. All right. Number 28 was another guest episode, designed with Peter Hornsby. And like he told me in the episode, he is not a lawyer, but his expertise was in how to design things for humans to make them beautiful. So as you are designing your solutions, always remember to make them beautiful. And there are some timeless principles that Peter went over with me. The next one was another demonstration called decision trees. So a lot of what we do in our conversations with people, we ask them a series of like yes or no questions or other types of questions. And then based on the answer, we have the next question to get the answer. And then finally at the end, there's some kind of a conclusion or something for them to do next. So what I did was I created this in SharePoint so that you could create your own decision trees, and then you can present it to your people so that they can go through that instead of having to have a conversation with you face to face every time. So decision trees are really powerful. Number 30, finally just went a deep dive into SharePoint because I do use SharePoint so much. Just went over the basics of SharePoint and what you can get it to do, which is a lot. You can get it to do basically anything. So that was a longer episode, 69 minutes. Number 31 was another guest. This was a conversation with Emma Kelly, skeptically optimistic. Emma, I would characterize her as quite a philosopher for legal tech. Not so she doesn't focus on the technology itself, but it's more like the consequences of the technology. How does this affect us as human beings, and what does this mean for the future of work? And should we even be applying AI to things? So yeah, she was skeptically optimistic. She's like, yeah, maybe it could work if we do it the right way, but she's also using her brain and saying, are we sure? What exactly do we want it to be doing? What is the place for human beings if we do this? And it's not perfect. So how do we protect the people and not go just completely enchanted? Yeah, and I've had Emma on as well with another episode with like a group of people. So it's been great to get to know Emma. The next one, department lists. trying to remember what this one. Okay, I think it's you can automatically, like as people join your department or they leave, you can automatically have that list of people updated, and you can then apply it to different systems. You can then have it create the different accounts for people, and as a person leaves for your department, you can automatically shut down those accounts, as well as it can create an email. People can subscribe and receive like a daily email, a list of the people who joined the department and people who left. So then maybe they might like invite the new people for a chat or something. So yeah, department lists are really important. Number 33, I talked about my first automation, but I also brought on a guest, Ryan, who I was his mentor when he did his first automation. So we went over his first automation and what it was like for him. Um, yeah, that was a great episode. 34, mapping out a solution, a case study. So we went over how to actually map out a solution. Like you have a problem. How do you start designing the solution? The solution that I went over was actually like a technology inventory, because we all keep wanting to get new technology, but we don't have a list of the technology we already have in a lot of departments. So the first thing you need to do is to create a list of the technology you already have. Maybe let people see what they already have, and maybe the technology you already have is enough. You don't need to get something new. All right. 35, another demonstration. It was monthly reports. I show how to start with like tasks inside of Outlook, which then gets aggregated to like a weekly meeting with a team. And then at the end of the month, the team gets together and they can see everything that everybody has done. And it gets put into a monthly report, which then gets converted to a PDF, which is then archived. So yeah, we go through the full thing, how to automate those reports. Number 36, I think, yeah, I think we're getting into like the summer vacation part. So I went on vacation for the summer, and so I needed to pre-record some of my episodes. So I think this was one of them. It was beautiful solutions. I really struggled at first with not just making things that are functional, but make it so it's beautiful and enjoyable for the end users. So I talked about um, how to make things beautiful and why it's important to make things beautiful, because we're having an impact on people's lives and people need to have beauty in their lives. Number 37, I read a book that I wrote called Thinking Like a Programmer, and read the whole thing in 46 minutes. So you can get the mindset of a programmer without having to learn how to code. It's very important to be able to see the patterns in your work. And we are often then describing these to people like programmers. So if you can talk in their terms, and if you can think in their terms, if you can then structure your work in the way a computer can in the way a computer actually works, then you'll have a lot more success in automating your work. Number 38, onboarding. Yeah. And I talked about it in just 10 and a half minutes. So onboarding, I've had other conversations with people since, and they say onboarding is the very start of anybody joining a company. You need to automate this part. Make it really nice for them, empower them, give them everything they need. And this just sets the tone for like your whole company when a person starts. 39 was another demonstration around employee photos, how to get employees to donate their photos to you so that then you can use them on your website and your marketing collateral, and then how to automate getting the consents of everybody that's in there. And then also, as people leave your company, how do you get automated notifications that they've left? So then you can go and remove the photos, or maybe you automatically blur faces in photos. We automated all of this. Number 40, beautiful SharePoint pages. So yeah, a lot of people complain that SharePoint is very restricting. So I showed how I removed the handcuffs of SharePoint, so I can make it look like whatever you want it to look like. We can make the SharePoint pages absolutely beautiful. Number 41, it was kind of philosophical. It was only 9 minutes long, and it's probably because I was on summer vacation. So this was pre-recorded. Building your dream, and it's all about the importance of having a dream. You need to have the freedom to explore and to think about the future that you want to build, and then be inspired to go build it. So I hope that was inspiring for somebody. Number 42, it's when I came back from summer vacation. I called it live group chat. And I had myself and 5 other people came on, and we just chatted for an hour. We had the general counsel of a top, very large and established technology company in the legal tech space, as well as we had an ex-engineer from Amazon who was also in the legal department, but he has now branched out with AI, and now he's building his own AI solutions at quite a very high scale. We also had an engineer who has started her own AI vendor kind of company, as well as we had Emma Kelly come back on, and she was my legal philosopher. And we also had Nate, who was just our average, ordinary user. So we had such a great conversation. Like, how how does a startup compete with the big established company? How does the big established company, how do they become nimble enough to compete against a startup? How do engineers see things differently than other types of experts? The philosopher asking why and should we actually do this? And then the ordinary user saying, you need to build this in such a way that I can actually use your tools. You can't make it so complicated that I can't follow. So that was a fun episode to have. And the group asked if we could do it again. So we're going to meet again in early January, I think January 9th. And so we'll turn this into like a biannual kind of a meeting and just talk about issues and where we're at. Number 43, I had another guest on. It was automating privacy compliance, and that was a couple of guests here in the Netherlands who left and created their own kind of AI startup around data privacy and how to help companies comply with the complicated rules and regulations around data privacy. Number 44, I just talked through how to start building like a very, very small knowledge management system. I called it Simple Wiki. So I don't think I actually showed it because I haven't actually built it myself, but I just talked through how you would start doing it. What are the different phases? What would be the different screens and the different users, the different roles of people? What are the different features that you could build very, very simply so that you could have a big benefit really fast? Number 45, cutting slack with Kevin Keller. This is the ex-Amazon engineer slash in-house legal person. And he came on and talked with me about his journey, his life, how he went from studying engineering to becoming a lawyer to then going back to his roots, really. And like he's really getting into the AI technology. 46, Innovating the Right Way with Victoria Lee. This was a little bit philosophical, I think. It was how to innovate inside a law firm, especially when there's not a lot of, well, there's less motivation generally for people to be innovating inside of a law firm. So she talked about all the different barriers to innovation and how to get around them, and then how to innovate the right way inside of a law firm. Number 47 is organizational health check. I built kind of a fun quiz that you can go through with your team or with your department And it really goes through, and it asks questions to see if you're actually ready for innovation. Because innovation, in its own way, it's a kind of a stress on an organization. It's change. You're asking people to change, and sometimes your organization is not able to change. Your organization doesn't have the right culture to be able to take in that kind of impact from innovation. So maybe if you're struggling with innovation, maybe part of it, it's not necessarily technology, but it's a cultural problem. It's the fact that innovation is not valued in your company, possibly, or that innovation is seen as not a good thing. So you do not get promoted for innovating. You get promoted for, I don't know, maintaining the status quo instead. So yeah, I did meet with somebody because I do also mentoring sessions, and they told me that they're really struggling with this. They're not able to have an impact and to innovate and improve their processes, and their boss is against this kind of thing. So what I suggested to them was, okay, share this link with everybody on your team or your department as much as you can, and just put it to them that this is an interesting thing, and ask everybody to do it, maybe print out or get the score, and have everybody even just do it anonymously, and then compare how does everybody see what's going on, and compare notes with each other. And then it makes it so you have an easier time of starting the conversation. It makes it less of an attack and more of like, let's have a group discussion of like, how are we doing, and how does everybody want to be working, just to make it better for everybody. Okay, and he reported to me that it was very good for him. He was able to start the conversation about how to increase innovation in his company. Number 48, educational platform. So yeah, this is more recent. So 48 episodes in, if that's once a week. This was like a month ago. I did this one, educational platform. So yeah, I met with a lawyer in Germany, and she told me that she did a 18-month long course in legal prompt engineering with generative AI. And she did it for 18 months. She learned tons of tricks, how to get the right answer from AI. And then she sat down to like actually start improving her processes. And she found that she couldn't. She had no idea how to apply the tools of generative AI. So what I told her was that she was starting from the wrong end. You don't start with tools, you start with problems. And then you need to know how to identify problems, break them into smaller parts, how to map out what a solution would look like, and then you find the appropriate tools. It's not always just one tool. You have a selection of tools that you can choose from. And she said to me, okay, so how can I learn the basics? And I told her, well, just go look at my website. I've got lots of resources. And she left. And I was reflecting on that. And I thought, well, I need to have something better that I can offer to people. I need to have some kind of like a curated, a guided course. So I decided to make an educational course, the basics, the practical things, things that aren't just jumping straight to AI, but are more like how to create workflows, or how to propose a project to your IT department, because a lot of times that's what we have to do to get these projects through, but people don't know how to make a proposal, or how to increase innovation in a department, or how to gather ideas. It's not just surveys and interviews, or something basic like how to tell a story with data, because we are flooded with data now, but how do we get meaning and turn that into a story that human beings can work with? So yeah, I've got a bunch of ideas of these different courses that I can make. I looked around at the different platforms that already exist, and I wasn't happy with any of them. So I decided to build my own educational platform. And yeah, I took 82 minutes to show everything that I did for how to create an educational platform. So if you're looking to create your own educational platform, you can look at mine and you can see what it takes to create an educational platform, and you can go create your own. Number 49, I had a guest from India, Arshita Anand, and the title of that was Start Where You Are. And for a little bit over an hour, Arshita was kind enough. She went through all the different things that she uses ChatGPT for, all the different tools. And yeah, she even showed me some things I learned how I can be using ChatGPT better. And it was very interesting. So thank you to her, and really just start where you are. You can't just expect perfection. Use the tools that you have. Number 50. So this was like 2 weeks ago. Build versus buy. So this is a big question that teams have. Well, often they don't even ask it. They just go straight to buying. But you have this option of building. So I had a guest come with me. It was Dom Conte, Conte, and we talked for a half hour about the build versus buy and the different pros and cons of each, because each has its own pros and cons. So thank you to him. I would really like to have another episode where I talk with him, because he was a great guest. Number 51. This was last week. What we can learn from the military about innovation. And this was Shelley Bauer. And she was in the military, and she learned a lot of lessons about leadership and innovation, things that the corporate world should really learn and take to heart. Because the military isn't just a rigid hierarchy. I was surprised in this hour and a half, hour and 40-minute conversation to learn the innovative things that the military does. I was surprised. But yeah, there's so much we can learn. So I would recommend that you listen to that one as well. Okay. And then today, number 52, 1 year of podcasting. Okay. So we are all the way up through the last year of podcast episodes. I really hope that you guys are enjoying this kind of content, that it's different from what is available out there. If I was to begin my journey, I hope that I would be able to receive benefit from this as well. Let me know. Connect with me on LinkedIn. I am Justin Turman, Turman. I am a lawyer, coder, and linguist, currently in Amsterdam, and originally an American lawyer. But you can also reach me at justin@automateofficework.com, as well as you can find me on my website, automateofficework.com, and there is a big book a call button at the top. If you have any ideas about how to make better content, if you'd like to be a guest, if you'd like to show some of what you've been working on, maybe let people know how you started and give them some guidance and inspiration. I'd love to connect with you. So what's coming up next for the next episodes? Yeah, I've got another 2 months of these episodes planned. Next week will be the anti-innovation playbook. It's kind of a sarcastic kind of a look at how to kill innovation in a department. After that, how to start an automation company, because I started my own automation company about 1.5 years ago, and I met with another man, a guest, and we talked for looks like 23 minutes, how he and I both started our companies. Number 55, what vendors wish consumers knew. And I guess that title, it might be changed in the next couple of weeks, but I have an appointment to meet with a vendor, and yeah, they'll let you know what they wish consumers knew. Number 56, from spreadsheets to work platform. So how to get your spreadsheets in a way into the right interface that you can see how they all connect with each other. It's a great one. Number 50. Oh, now we're getting into more philosophical things. What is value? And it looks like I already recorded this. It's almost 14 minutes long. Just from a philosophical point of view, what is value? What is it that we're trying to create? And how do we get that out of automation? Number 58, freedom through constraints. I know that sounds like a paradox, but constraints actually allow us to be more free. Number 59, the AI paradox. Little 12 minutes. And yeah, I think these are going to be when I'm on Christmas vacation. So I already have these pre-recorded, and I will just be able to broadcast those live on LinkedIn while I am enjoying my Christmas vacation. Number 60, publishing a solution in the Microsoft Marketplace, because I'm going through this right now. I'm putting my first solution into the Microsoft Marketplace. 61, live group chat, beginning of 2026. So this is getting the gang back together again, and we'll be talking about 2026. And number 62, another philosophical episode, The Problem with Problems, where we dive deep into how to view problems and how to use them. All right. So, yeah, my name is Justin. I'm your host at Automate Office Work. I hope you've received a lot of benefit from these episodes over the last year, and I hope to keep doing this and to connect with everyone. If you'd like to connect with me further, please feel free to do so. If you have any ideas or if you'd like to come on as a guest as well, I'm happy to connect with you. And let's make this a great community for everyone. All right. And with that, I've been your host, Justin, and I wish you happy automating.